Welcome to the Asheville View. I'm Aisha Adams, and today I'm here with my co-hosts, Myriam and Tina.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. I'm so glad we are finally getting back together to have conversations and talk about the things that are truly important in our community. As of September 21st, there were 24,934 positive cases of COVID-19 among Buncombe County residents and 379 COVID-related deaths. How has COVID affected you personally? How do you feel about masking and vaccinations? Does your company require vaccinations? Have you encountered any non-maskers or any extreme maskers? What's it been like for you?
COVID has affected me personally. The first thing that happened was the separation from my classroom, being a teacher, having to go online very quickly. We literally had a meeting on Friday, and then on Monday we couldn't get back in. They gave us a few hours. It got really real. It got really serious. It got really real. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how the kids were doing. After the year went by and we went full on online the following year, we were meeting kids who were new to our classrooms and rosters, but we couldn't have that connection with them. We didn't know how to reach them. So basically the kids who weren't in and motivated and had all the everything, all the resources, they were fine, but the other kids were quiet. And that to me killed me as a teacher, because when they're with you, you can reach out to them, you can talk to them face to face, but the silence of some of these kids who fell through the cracks was really deafening. It was really bad for me to not be able to reach every single kid. So that was really tough, which is a great thing that we're back together now, and the hallways are noisy and you hear them shout at each other, even though it's obnoxious and it's, so many times exhausting, but it's alive. We used to be in an empty building, and it was very sad. Another way it affected me was that I couldn't travel and see my parents and for almost 2 years. And that's another thing that was really real for me. It's like, oh my God, my parents are far away. I don't know. This has reached everywhere in the world. I don't know how they're doing. I don't know if they're being safe. I mean, we talk and they're being as safe as possible. And Morocco has had a lot of, they have been very, very strict, and everybody's masking. It's not an option. They have a curfew. People respect the curfew because they don't have a choice. But here it was very different. So I almost felt like they were safer, but at the same time, I was sad not to be able to be with them, and not knowing, because back then we didn't really know when this was going to end. There were a lot of unknowns, and my work has a mask mandate, and it's very hard doing what we do with a mask on. It causes a lot of exhaustion and breathing issues. And I mean, we keep it on from 8 to 4 and we don't stop talking. And as a teacher that teaches a foreign language, I need them to see my face, and I need them to see what I'm saying to help them pronounce things, and I need to hear them. And it's very challenging. We are not really distanced. The classrooms are really overcrowded. So it's overcrowded, trying to find air in between. It's hard, but if it's keeping us safe, we'll take it. But it's very, very, very hard. It's very challenging.
With you being a world traveler, like every time I talk to you, you're heading somewhere or you're coming back. How did you stay in lockdown? Like tell us about that.
Yes, that was oh my God, that was very hard. That was very hard. I remember telling Eddie that we needed, especially for Lilo, Lilo's done with school. There's no school, you need entertainment. And then all of a sudden we realized that the pools are going to shut down. Everything was going to shut down. And I started to panic, saying, we can't travel. We can't go anywhere. Our pool that we go to is about to shut down. What are we going to do? There's so much there's so many arts and crafts you can do with your kid before you're burned out. There's so many like fairy castles. And I mean, my God, first of all, I don't like to play with kids, including my own, let alone when you're in quarantine. It was about to be a challenge. So what we did is I said to Eddie, I've always been wanting an above ground pool, but he was always against it. He's like, I will never have that in my yard. That's disgusting. No, we're not doing it. It's not a real pool. We're not doing it. But he finally caved in and got us one. And thank God that happened, because that was our saving grace. It was a pool. It's not as pretty as a regular pool, but it was a pool where you can actually dive in, dip in. So we kind of created our own little tiki bar vibes in the background. And that's the one positive thing that happened, is that we made our home into like a vacation spot, and
well, your house has always been the club. I just keeping it real. Like, y'all don't know this, but it's been days where Rafa and I's like, let's go to Myriam's club. So Myriam, they keep it rocking over there.
Yes, we keep it rocking. There's a DJ booth, music, lights, everything. But then with the pool, Aisha, can you imagine a pool in the back? So it was kind of like vacation day every day, especially in the summer when we didn't go anywhere. It was just like we were on vacation in our backyard all day, every day. For the longest time, we couldn't have anybody over, so it was just us. But once we started to just seeing our people, I mean, we had, I think, one person in our bubble two people that didn't go anywhere. And then they would come in and come over and spend time with us. So that was the one part about quarantine, is that we made the best out of what we have and just stayed in.
So what about you, Tina? How did you and Mary deal with the vaccine? How's it been going? What about your life has changed?
When COVID started, our family had to nip into action and airlift my parents out of a long-term care facility. And it's good that we did. We moved them to my brother's pig farm in South Carolina. And quite a few people died in that facility, so we felt fortunate for that. I did eventually lose my mother to COVID. One of the healthcare workers brought it into the house, which is unavoidable. But so we lost her last Christmas. And then most recently, I run the Blue Ridge Pride Festival, or I did. We had to cancel it for a second year in a row. Just because too many people in our community are at risk, and we didn't want them to feel that we would have a party without them. And then just this morning, I learned that my sister-in-law and her husband are very sick with COVID. Another member of our festival team has two parents that they take care of, and they desperately need knee surgery, and they have canceled it because they're worried they could be locked down in the hospital and unable to care for their parents. And we're trying to convince them that we could help. But, the hardest part is I feel sad because I see everyone suddenly becoming so much more cautious anywhere they go, anyone they deal with. And it reminds me of like when I used to, if I walked down a dark street in the city, you'd be looking all around, and I feel like that's what life is right now, and that everyone is in that lockdown mode, and it changes how they treat other people, how we treat each other, and I mourn for that. Sometimes I get pissed. Just last week, I was in an elevator going to a restaurant, and we were required to wear masks, and 4 other people got into the elevator. One of them, the 3 were masked. One was a woman in a business suit who wasn't masked. And as the doors closed, she just said to the room around her, oh gosh, I just can't be burdened with wearing a mask anymore. It's too hard. And I wanted to do so many things at that moment. I just said, I just turned to her and I said, oh, well, I can be bothered. And I left it at that. Vaccination, I can I can understand some differences in feelings. To me, saying that you're not willing to wear a mask says that you don't care about the community. You don't care that other people feel safe. You don't care that the waiters and waitresses, the teachers, you just don't care. And we seem to have an epidemic of that in the society from all sides of the spectrum of just not caring. Everyone feels sort of empowered to not care.
Ooh, Tina.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You know that we all reached out when your mom passed. I'm very sorry to hear about your loss. And then to have other family members be sick, it's like this constant thing that's going on. In my life, everything has been different too. Dorian spent the beginning of the pandemic at home, which was great because he has diabetes. So with that pre-existing condition, we were all just kind of on pins and needles, not really sure what we could do, being extra safe. Until we all were able to get vaccinated. And Raph has never had any shots or vaccinations before. So it was like really having to talk that through and really explain, like, you're going to catch COVID if you live here with me and you're not vaccinated, because I'm going to work. I'm going to be going out I'm going to be living this life. So it was good for him to go ahead and get vaccinated. Dorian, he got vaccinated. And Myriam, I hadn't even thought about this, but Dorian's taking Chinese at UNCA, and just thinking about how he says his language class is so hard. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, I've been spending hours working on Chinese, and he loves the class. He's like, it's just a lot. I didn't even think about like, oh, they're masking and he might not be able to see the teacher's mouth and not being able to see the tongue roll and all the things that come with teaching a foreign language. So like still even realizing just the different ways it's affecting the people in the house with you is difficult and strenuous. And then my work picked up, right? Because all the stuff with the racism pandemic, like so many people were reaching out, like, let's write new policies, let's do new procedures. Here are projects that I want to run. And so then my work like 3x, like just going. And then just, so it's been a lot. It's been a good lot for me. It's been a time where I can really connect with my family, because Dorian was supposed to move out. So like the fact that he's still here is like kind of good, right? Mm-hmm. So it's been interesting, but I hadn't even realized like just the part about just the foreign language he's taking and how that's affecting him. And like listening to him talk about how he wasn't on campus the first year he attended school. And so this semester he's in school, he's back at school. He doesn't know a lot of people, hasn't really found his place yet. So just kind of helping him navigate that. Raph is navigating his new position in the company, all my work. So I feel super busy all the time and always trying to remind people like, let's be COVID safe. Whereas I would have loved for us to be in a room together today. I'm sure the show would have turned out a lot differently, but it's important that we protect each other. Absolutely. You know, and that we do the right things and model the right things. So just trying to do the right things, help other people do the right things, and be here has been pretty tough, but it's been very rewarding.
Mm-hmm. It's weird when I run into someone in person now, like when I ran into you and Raph earlier this week.
The real
I just wasn't prepared. You just look bigger than life all of a sudden.
Yeah, you know, it's like what's crazy is there are people that I have these great relationships with, and I feel like they are like so close to me, and then I see them in person and I'm like, oh, I thought you were Tyler.
Yes.
You know, like I actually don't know this person at all. I've actually never seen them in person before, and I actually thought they were taller in my mind. So it's like, you know, it's so interesting.
It is.
Dorian was saying how most of the people he meets them on social media first, even though they go to the same school, and then it's like, okay, now we can connect and talk. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. And I think kids, I've seen it in my work, teenagers are trying to rejoin their social circles and be in school again, and they're still not sure how to navigate it yet. You know, they're awkward. They are not talking to each other right away. Like it's been about 4 or 5 weeks that we've been back, and it's gotten better. But my gosh, it was very hard. They weren't talking. I would walk in and say hey to them and nobody talks because they're used to the online platform where they didn't even have their cameras on and I'm talking to myself. And that was acceptable. But because we were just trying to survive, right? But now you walk in and you're like, hey, bonjour, and it's complete quietness. And I would have to say, guys, we're not on Zoom anymore. You're going to have to talk to me. Talk to each other, please. I hate a quiet classroom. We need, and even given assessments, Aisha, they're so used to reaching for the phones, reaching for the notes, reaching for the Google Translate. It's like they don't know how to take tests. I'm giving a test and people are like, And I'm like, yo. This is a test. It's not an open note. What are you guys doing? It's like they don't have that, oh, it's a test. I need to put my phone away. And I'm what? Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. And I said, you guys are actually gonna have to study now. You can't just copy everything anymore. And you can't just be like, oh, what is that question again? No, you actually have to study and make your brain work. And I think it's really good for them to be back. But we have to care. Like Tina said, we have to care. There are a lot of schools in other counties in North Carolina that don't have mask mandates. And the kids are just going in and getting sick. And we have not had a lot of numbers of people getting sick. We get a report every Thursday. And so far, it's only been, I think in the whole city school system, only been about 22 cases since we've opened, which compared to other districts is nothing. But the governor keeps saying, we encourage people, we keep encouraging, but I feel like it has to be a statewide mandate. Otherwise, it's not going to work. These people are going to keep getting sick. I don't understand how we've put our guard down big time. People are saying, I can't do this anymore. Like Tina's story, I can't do this anymore. I am done. This is over. Or even the people who don't believe that this is a hoax or doesn't exist or whatever, they're still saying, oh, I'm vaccinated. It's fine. But it's not about just you. That's what I have a really hard time when people say that. It's not just about you. It's about the little kids who still can't get vaccinated. It's about the older people or people with autoimmune disease that can't get a vaccine. It's about you spreading it to other people. It's not just you being safe. It's you keeping others safe. And I must say, my students have been really good at keeping their masks on. We're one of the few districts that are very strict, even with it inside and outside. Even though we are crowded, it is very difficult, but you have to do it because it's just not about you. And the kids are learning, they're learning a lot of things. They're learning to study now and to rejoin society and talk to each other and getting used to this new normal of masking.
50 years ago, social norms were set by a few magazines, a few newspapers, a few institutions, major religions. And one of the wonderful things that's happened the last 50 years is people have felt empowered to free themselves from what can feel tyrannous about those norms, whether it's color, LGBTQ people. Lots of identities have been able to flourish as we've unanchored ourselves from those sort of sources of stability. The dark side of that is now we do live in a YouTube era where it is about, you kept saying you. And I think one of the issues we're facing as a society is how do you maintain politeness, care for each other in a world where everyone feels empowered, like that was it a football player? Was it a baseball player who just went on social media and just said, I've had it with masking. I'll never wear a mask anywhere again, and had an instant audience. that never would have happened 50 years ago because they would have been shut down by all those media outlets. Now they have instant notoriety. And the flip side of that is we as a society, we just keep hearing all these unconsidered messages. And we haven't figured out as a culture, how do we get better control of that? And I just feel we're kind of completely unmoored as a society from some form of convention, which has a plus side where people feel free to be themselves. But being myself can sometimes mean flipping you the bird. And yeah, I feel that's kind of the bigger thing that's going on is we've just lost touch with human consideration. And with COVID, the way I try to think about it is my decision to wear a mask driven by, gee, I'm making a statement about my political views or medical views, or is it just driven by care for the person in front of me? And I think we need to be better at bringing that second factor, just consideration for the people around us.
Thanks for watching the Asheville View.